tornado warning. Are you kidding me?
Well, you're here now, so.
Yeah, that
I
means
am.
we should
Well,
do it.
kind of. Let's see if we can get the speakers to work.
Turn into my preacher. God wanted you here. You're here.
And the Lord said, is that how you preach, Buddha? You walk around with that rag and wiping your head?
Half and half, like a black and white preacher, man.
Nice.
I try not to go too black because I'm not. So
that's all right. You have darker skin though, so you know. Nice.
You get like Colleen in the winter. No offense. You can't hear us.
That's why I don't even know what you said because I can't hear you very well.
Well, you can't make fun of people's skin. I married like a piece of paper. Nancy is like see-through. Her and her twin are both like transparent. So. So that was my first time making that video. How did it come?
It's good.
Yeah.
Like
it's very basic, but
yeah, like I told you, you're only going to get better the more you do it too.
Yeah.
Like
Da Vinci was very simple to use. Like even like the audio and the video file, they go in separate. And then even on the audio, I figured it was going to be hard to figure out how to like fade it out, like the music. And there's like a little tab, you just click and pull it to where you want it to start fading and it automatically fades out. Like it was so simple.
So did you use the free one?
Yeah.
I might look into it then.
Yeah, it was really nice. I actually liked it a lot. I've been watching a bunch of YouTube videos for it, trying to learn, at least basic stuff. But
YouTube is the best, man. You can never know how to do something.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
Speaker's not working. It's cool. I'm just going to hold the phone close.
We can hear you, and we'll make sure we talk a little
Okay.
maybe.
Yeah, because it's really hard to hear you guys.
All right.
You guys ready?
Yep.
I'm going to go on mute.
I'm going to do a 10-second silence because I can see that in the audio file. All right, and welcome back to the 24 Down podcast. We are here for a historic episode 10. We are now in the double digits. Before we get into everything today, I just want to give everybody a heads up in case you've not seen on Facebook within the 24 Down group. We are taking a vote right now to name the new spin-off show, the follow-up show. Your choices are The Back Porch, Open Dorm, Extra Innings, The Comeback, 24 Download, Take 2-4, and Table Talk. We're going to be ending this poll tomorrow night, Saturday night. So if you're listening to this probably Saturday during the day and you haven't voted, go vote. If you're listening Sunday, sorry, vote's over. But anyway, so with that, I'm now going to introduce everybody. I've got Buda back on here. He's going to be one of our co-hosts for the day. Buda.
Good to be back, man. Happy to be back.
We've also got Andrew Kindler, who is going to be heading up this new spin-off show, the follow-up show. Andrew, how's it going?
What's up, everybody?
And then we've got our guest for this week, which is Colleen. Colleen, how's it going?
Good. Excited. Even though we had like a rough first start trying to get this going.
Hey, it happens. I mean, we're living in the age of technology, but that doesn't mean it's simple, right?
And working with someone who is not the brightest crayon on the box and doesn't know anything about technology.
You said it, not us. So
I know.
All right, so we're gonna start this episode just like we start everyone. Colleen, we're gonna kind of turn the floor over to you, and we're gonna let you give us a little review or just how your life has been, what's happened since your Valley Forge career.
Okay. So since 24 Down, or VFCC, and everyone, excuse me for dates too, I think we all say that, and how I can try to pinpoint what happened is because my son was born in October 2009. So when I left Valley Forge, I think it was the spring semester of 2008. I did not finish that semester. And I think that was the semester Buda was supposed to graduate. Can you guys hear this thunder behind me? Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Um, and a couple other people were supposed to graduate in 2008, and I left early. Um, and that, like I've heard you mention before, it was like you had a dark time too when you first left Valley Forge, and then you came back and roomed with the English twins. But that was a kind of a dark moment, start of my dark moment when I left Valley Forge, because I didn't want to because of you guys. You guys know that. Like, I was obsessed. I think my last year and a half there, I didn't even go to classes. I just spent money on spending time with you guys. But I did leave. And actually, I remember that day that I left, and we all do this like crazy circle thing when someone's about to like leave around a bonfire. We're all like be in a circle and say like one thing we remember about that person or good times at Valley Forge. And we did that for me right before I left. And I remember everyone being in a giant circle and everyone saying, you know, we miss you, we're gonna miss you. But let's go around in a circle and say one good thing or something we remember, kind of like what we're doing now. Of course, it was all ball busting and everything, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And obviously, I live in New Jersey, and without traffic, it's like an hour and a half, but with traffic, Schuylkill, all that, it was about 2 hours away. And I remember driving home, and it was like my soul was being sucked out of my body. Like, I think I had to pull over once or twice, and I just lost it. I didn't want to leave, but I had to leave. And that'll make sense as we get on because of my son and everything like that. So I came home, and it was probably around, like, if I can remember correctly, April, May-ish. Um, and I moved in with my dad, and he had a place, and it was kind of party city for me. I left the Christian college. I grew up AG my whole life. I know everyone keeps hearing AG, and it's just like different type of way. We were in church every Sunday night, and then Wednesdays was Royal Rangers and Missionettes, and that's pretty much like Boy Scout, Girl Scout, Christian style. And then my mom was on the praise and worship team, so she was every Friday night was praise and worship practice, and then Sunday. So and then everything else, little things that the church did here. I'm sure we were there extra days. And then so I always wanted to go to Valley Forge, just because of the lifestyle that I was brought up in. And so I came home and was like freedom a little bit. And I met Tyler's dad. So it was that summer after I left Valley Forge. Not going to get too crazy, but I got crazy, hence why Tyler happened. But I think I was one of the first people to go, because I believe all of you were there, well, except for Buddha, because if he graduated in 2008, he graduated the semester I left. But most of you were still there another year or two after I left. So I got into a relationship that wasn't right. And as I get into this part, I'm going to watch what I say because I don't know if my son is going to listen to this one day. So that's why I'm, try not to bash his dad or whatever because it's still his dad. But I got into a relationship that wasn't right, if that makes sense. But I don't regret it because then I wouldn't have Tyler. And he is, y'all know who's heard the story, my number one, like, he saved my life, honestly, still does every day. So I got into a relationship that I shouldn't have gotten into. And we got a place together when I was like 7 months pregnant. And we lived together till Tyler was about 2 weeks before Tyler turned 1. And in that year, it was really hard for me because I had just left you guys. And as you've heard in other podcasts, it was like no other. Besides sleeping, everyone and being boys and girls. So obviously I come from a different perspective. So I didn't have the same dorm as you guys. So for me, the only time I was away from you guys is when I went to bed. So having that and eating dinner together every single night, crowds versus being in a very verbally abusive, controlling relationship and eating dinner with no one. And what I mean is, Tyler was born and we were eating dinner and there was still someone sitting on the other couch, but it was still eating by myself, if that makes sense. It wasn't the right relationship coming from what I had just left. And it left me in a really dark place, because deep down inside, coming from the AG background, I knew I wasn't where I was supposed to be. I knew it was wrong, but in, being young and whatever, I thought I loved him, and, blah, blah, blah. Tyler happened. Um, but it was very lonely, and I missed you guys, and I didn't keep in contact with you guys as much as I wanted to, because I did feel that shame in a way. I don't regret it now, um, 10 years later, but it was just a very dark time, in a very verbally abusive relationship. And then when I got pregnant with Tyler, I was actually really, really sick. On top of leaving you guys, being in a situation that I knew I shouldn't have been in. And then I'm really sick. It's called hyperemesis. And it's now every woman, well, not every, I'm jealous of the women who don't go through morning sickness, but there's morning sickness. And then there's what I had, which is hyperemesis. And that is severe vomiting. And for the first 4 months of my pregnancy, I was hospitalized, in and out of the hospital, IVs. And as you're pregnant, you can't take much, because of the baby. So actually a couple times, because, not to get gross, but there was times I was just throwing up bile, and because of that, I lost a couple of my teeth. I would just wake up with holes in the middle of my teeth, and they had to be pulled. So I'm actually missing a few teeth over here. Thank God they're in the back and nobody can see them. So he just took everything from me, and not in a bad way, but like I lost, like when I gave birth to Tyler, I was only 125 pounds. That's not like a normal weight. I just couldn't stop getting sick. Um, and right, probably like 8 months into my pregnancy, I had to get a shot in the butt. Um, and the reason why is they said, now I'm O negative, like blood type, and they said we have to, because of what I was going through, you have to get a shot in the butt. And when Tyler comes out, if he has the same blood type as you won't have to get another shot in the butt. But if he doesn't have the same blood type as you have to get another shot in the butt so you don't miscarriage any other pregnancy after that. And then when Tyler was born, I'm O negative, so he was O positive. That's still not matching. So I had to get a shot in the butt. And how the doctor explained it was, you ever take a battery and it's minus and plus? That's kind of what it was like. So like our bodies were like kind of fighting each other, and not in like a bad way, but my body reacted as hyperemesis, where it's just sick all the time. So on top of not being in a right relationship and being in the AG where you come from, you're not supposed to have sex till you're married. Like I had a whole vision. It's not how I had envisioned that part of my life. And it was very lonely. But as soon as Tyler was born, like even when he was in my belly, there was like a connection. Especially the first time I felt him kick, because I was so sick, I thought like something was really, really wrong. So the first time he kicked me, I was like, yay, like, okay, we got this. You're there, blah, blah, blah. So it has been me and him since day one. Um, so me and his dad lived together for a little bit after he was born, and it was rough, very rough. I don't want to say too much, but very verbally abusive. There was actually one night where, well, in his mind, he went to work. I was a mom. I'm not allowed to work. And I kind of get that. That's kind of like old school thinking, though. Like, I'm the man, you're the mom, you stay home, take care of the kid, cook, clean, all that. But knowing me, cooking, cleaning, staying home, being the housewife, you're out of your mind. But that's kind of what it was. And so that means I got up with Tyler every night. And I get that. And at first I did breastfeed, so I had to get up with Tyler. But I think Tyler was 3 or 4 months and baby's been cutting teeth. He had an upset belly. He actually didn't miss daddy. You know what I mean? You don't know. So I'm rocking him back and forth. I fed him, I burped him, all that kind of stuff. And he's just still, being a baby. Well, Tyler's dad comes out of the room and he was like, "What are you doing to him?" And that got my soul. Like, what do you mean, what am I doing to him? Like, he's crying. He's like, "Well, did you feed him?" I'm like, "Yeah, duh. Obviously, I fed him." And he's like, "Well, make him stop because I have work in the morning." So that was another dark point. I just felt so lonely and missed 24 down so much. So obviously that relationship did not end, and Tyler has a stepmom, and Tyler has a younger brother, 2 years younger than him. Um, So I had to move back home with my mom, and Tyler was with me. And we shared a room with my brother. So it was all three of us in the room in my brother's room. But then, life goes on, and I got myself an apartment, and I'm in the apartment now, and I've been here 11 years. Ups and downs all through, obviously. But it does bring me to right now. And right now is this past year, which I have explained to you, Hat, and I've actually talked to Matthias over the phone, and I'm grateful for him too, just about the situation. So long story short, last June, Tyler's dad moved to Las Vegas. And of course, custody, all that. I've been to court in the past year and a half, probably 10 freaking times. And he doesn't pay child support still, and he just keeps getting slapped on the hand. So now, because we're in court, last September, visitation. And of course, this is the part that really gets my heart because it's my baby. We've been through a lot since day one. So at that last court hearing, and I believe it was last September, the judge ordered, and now Tyler's never been on a plane, and he's never been away from me longer than a week. The judge ordered for Tyler to go for 1 week in February, this past February. And then from there, this coming summer, he was supposed to go for an entire month this summer that we're at right now, but nobody expected Corona hit. So at that point, I'm grateful too at the same time, because the judge ordered that his dad had to pay for all plane tickets, and his dad had to fly here to get him, fly him back to Las Vegas, and fly him home. That the child was not allowed on the plane by himself. So in one aspect, blessing for me, and I don't have to pay for anything. So it was probably 6 months in between, and my prayers to God were, at first, please do not let this child get on this plane. Please, like begging, okay? 3 weeks to February, 3 weeks to where I know Tyler's going. My prayers changed, and they were, okay, God, I know he's going. Please get him there safely, and please bring this baby home to me safely. And I shit you not, okay, this is R-rated, 24 downtime, I don't mind cursing, like, I shit you not, and I cannot make this up. The day Tyler was supposed to go, in February, for that 1 week, he knows, and in this 6 months, at first Tyler didn't want to go. He was afraid, whatever. He bought him plane books, and he's in counseling once a week. With counselor, we tried to get him, okay, the plane's okay, you can do this, blah, blah, blah. We finally get him excited to go. He goes to school that day. I get a text message from his dad at noon. His bags are packed, everything, at noon that day, saying my flight to New Jersey from Las Vegas has been delayed. I may need you to drop him off at the airport. Now, he was supposed to come here to get him. And I'm going to say this because it's been a long time since I even went to Phoenix, so I have no idea how to get to the airport, even last minute. Now, I have a car. It's a hoopty. No air conditioning, no defrost, no heat, whatever. It's on its last leg. I don't even know if my car is going to make it to Philly. So now I'm stressing, and I'm like, whatever. I call my parents. Thank God for my parents. They're like, we'll take you. Now it's probably an hour before Tyler gets off the bus, and his dad says, I'm not going to be able to make it. Like, I can't come. And it was just like, I didn't even know how to feel at that point, because now I have to tell my kid an hour from now that when he gets off the bus, you're not going. And people warned me about the little girl that I was going to have that was going to be just like me. Nobody warned me about the little boy I was going to have that was going to be just like me. So I'm already dreading telling Tyler when he gets off the bus that he's not going. So I do that. And of course, he flips out, slams the door, locks the door, doesn't let me in. I let him have his moment. And he doesn't go. That weekend, I didn't know how to feel because, and still small voice, like you, and I think in a previous podcast, Hat, you said you're not a Bible pusher, but you still believe in God and you have your own ways. And that's me. I'm not a Bible pusher, but I still do believe in God. And God was saying, trust me. I've been telling you to trust me this whole time. And it's kind of like God's a funny God, because I prayed to you for 6 months to stop it, and you're going to stop it the day he's supposed to get on the plane. I'm grateful. But like, seriously, that's okay. Okay, God, fine. So April comes, and there's no court order for April, but April is the next time that he has spring break for a week. And of course, his dad is pushing. So I contact the courts and I'm like, there's no court order. Do I have to let him go April? Blah, 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 blah. They said if we both agree on it, he could go for the week in April. Now, because Tyler's so disappointed, I was half going to send him. But then Corona happened. Schools get shut down. He can't go in April. Again, God saying, you're going to trust me now? Stop stressing about this. You're going to stop me now? And another thing I can't make up is I don't have a job right now. So in March, I landed the best job. I was going to be a cafeteria worker in my son's school. I would have his same schedule, days off, everything. Perfect job. I would be able to get him on the bus, off the bus. The day I was supposed to start is the day that all schools got shut down in New Jersey. Seriously, again, real funny, God. Like, okay. So we get through the whole coronavirus quarantine. We had his Chromebook at home. We had to go through all that. Me teaching my son, that was something in itself. I don't even remember fourth grade math, let alone what I did 3 days ago, okay? So that was a struggle in itself, but we did it. We got through it. And it was actually, not that I want coronavirus to happen, but for once, it was a very peaceful 3 months. Tyler was home. We were doing homeschool, and I didn't have to worry about him getting on that plane to Las Vegas. So June happens, and now I'm getting more nervous because the whole month. Now he has to go for a whole month. And because of February, he's still never been on a plane. He never got that week out of his system. So we're still in limbo. So in July, his dad texted Tyler, and he said, now this is July 7th, and he said, oh, I came into money, and I'm going to come get you in the next two weeks to 3 weeks, and you're going to come. Now, he never discussed this with me. He just discussed it with Tyler. So now I'm kind of like freaking out. So I filed for an emergency court hearing to modify the pre-existing court order that says he has to go for a month, because that court order was issued before coronavirus. Las Vegas is now a hot spot. Okay, New Jersey was the hot spot one of the hot spots in the beginning. So now Nevada, where he's supposed to go for an entire month, is now a hot spot. And whoever leaves from any hot spot, you have to self-quarantine for 14 days. So I'm going to let my kid now go to Las Vegas for a month, and then he has to self-quarantine for 14 days. I feel like I have a fighting chance here when we go back to court. I don't think any judge in their right mind would say, oh no, he still has to go. In the middle, I mean, schools were just canceled. We don't even know if schools are going to open back up in September. So still waiting on that. So every day I go to my mailbox waiting for the court date. But we are now, August 7th? We still don't have a court date. So I still feel like it's in my favor, and God's in my ear saying, just trust me. You didn't even have to start wearing again. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know if that judge is going to turn around and say this child still has to go even for a week. I don't see the judge doing that right now with the coronavirus, but who knows? I mean, I've been stressing about this for way too long. And I know eventually this baby, he tells me, he yells at me for that. I'm not a baby anymore. This boy is going to eventually have to go. That's where it's going to break my heart. And I don't want to get emotional. I told myself I wouldn't, so I'm not. I know he's eventually going to have to go, and it will be another dark time in my life. I have, since Valley Forge, I have slept, like he is my everything. I don't date, I don't do anything, and I'm okay with that. I'm happy with that. I am happy with just me and him. I'm happy being his mom. It's the most important role I've ever had in my life. But the day I have to put him on that plane to Las Vegas is going to break my soul again. But I know that I have to let him be a big boy eventually. told myself I wasn't going to cry, but I had the tissue box right next to me because I knew I was lying. um, so as of right now, I'm not trying to get too worked up because as of right now, he's still home. He's here. There's no court date saying when or what time, but I know eventually I'm going to have to let him go. And that is going to be the hardest. I thought leaving you guys in 24 down was hard. Damn, having to put my little boy on a plane, even if it's in the middle of a pandemic, it's a 5.5 hour plane ride and he has to wear a mask. Like, are you kidding? Seriously? But there's no sense in stressing about it right now because, I mean, there is, but like, today is today, tomorrow is tomorrow. If that makes sense. God has been with me this entire time saying, are you going to trust me now? Are you going to trust me now? So that's where I'm at right now after Valley Forge in a nutshell. Ups and downs, but it hasn't been completely terrible. I got the best thing that has ever happened to me in the world. And he's a spitting image of me. Oh my God. Like, it's crazy. And I love him to death, and we're happy. We have a roof over our heads. My car is ghetto as hell, but at least it's a car. We're okay. So that's where I'm at.
That's good. So there's a few things like I want to say, and I'm sure Buda and Andrew have their things they'd like to say too as well. I'm gonna go the route of saying my more serious thing first, and then lighten it up with something, to lighten it up as well. But
Okay.
the first thing I want to say to you is about, like, you talk about this whole journey and how along the way, like, God is saying, like, you feel God is saying to you, like, trust,
Right.
and I do agree with you, and I've told you this in our own conversations before about this situation, that at some point he has to go, like, and
I
it's
know.
I know it's something you're dreading and you're worried about, but the same way that God had you in these other situations, like, n- n- at the end of the day, like, your son is going to remember how much you did for him. So no matter what happens, he will always remember that. And I just think that, I know it's really hard for you to do it, but, like, at some point, like you said, it's going to be out of your control and it's going to have to happen. And you just got to trust God through it. No matter
I
how hard
know.
it is, you just got to trust God through it. So that's just my little bit of encouragement. And again, like I said, I'll let Buda and Andrew kind of
Okay.
do their own thing. But the last thing I want to say, based on your whole thing, and this is, I just want to lighten it up a little bit before, I mean, they might bring some serious stuff too, but
It's okay.
so I wanted to I wanted to ask, because you said you were teaching, you're doing, like, since COVID shut down the schools and stuff, you had to do teaching for him.
Oh my
So
God, it was cool.
did you learn anything at all?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is not in my notes. I'm so happy you brought this up. So actually, yes. And it was funny because he had the best teacher in the world. And it was when we all had it first, we got introduced to Zoom. That's actually how I got introduced to Zoom. And it was fourth grade math. And we were on the Zoom meeting with this teacher. It's just me, Tyler's teacher, and Tyler. And he was struggling in math area. So she had like the whiteboard at home and she's going over the math problems. Now I'm listening too, because there is parts of the schooling where you do, it's not all day teaching, you know what I mean? It is at home. So I'm listening intently too during the math part. So she's teaching Tyler and I'm actually she's writing it on the whiteboard and I'm actually starting to get it. And I'm taking notes too. And I said, hold on, Miss Langerhans. I said, can you repeat that? I said, so you mean, you know how like, this is like fractions, how you do like parentheses first. And like, so I like kind of like, if you can picture this, raised my hand and said, oh, wait, Miss Langerhans, wait, what about this X and this? And then she explained it a little bit more to me. And I'm like, I finally understand it. And we had a really good laugh at that. So yeah, I learned a lot.
So your son's teacher gained a new student, is
She
basically
really did. She didn't know she was going to have a 34-year-old student and during quarantine too. So yeah, I did. I learned a lot. I was taught to.
Nice. All right, and Andrew, you want to go?
Yeah, I was gonna say that's why I'm grateful that my kids were in kindergarten and first grade because I at least know everything that they're dealing with right now.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it
I was
wasn't.
like, damn, why couldn't this happen in kindergarten? I
Yeah.
knew what he was doing.
It was like color and animal. I was like, I can do that. I can do that.
Exactly.
Yeah. But no, I wanted to say that I appreciate you opening up and sharing about, what you're going through and where you are in life. Um, I think if anybody could say anything about you, they would say that you're loyal. And your son knows that. Your son knows that and that he knows that you're going to be praying for him and supporting him. And I would, as a parent, it would be, I can't imagine putting my kid on a plane to fly somewhere where I can't be there with him. Even though your son's older, um,
Oh, my
but the thing,
baby.
and oh yeah, I call my kid, I call my girls, babies, and Sky's like, I'm not a baby,
That's what Tyler does. He
yeah,
stomps his foot with his fist too. I'm not
yeah,
a baby.
I'm not a baby, yeah. But no, that's just where it comes down to where, that's the faith part of our walk with Christ is that's where your son is just as safe, not being with you as he is with you,
That's
is,
the part I gotta learn.
yeah, and
It's gonna be okay.
yeah, and
I'm
I
not
think
there.
anyone who listened to my podcast knows why that I really had to deal with that while I was deployed, because it was like God was like you don't have to be with your family for them to be protected because I do that,
Right.
and so
Right.
really I encourage you in that is to remember that the Lord will protect him. You pray safety over him, and when that happens, let 24 down know. We'll all be praying for him and keep him in our prayers and stuff. But yeah, but that's where like it's your faith journey is being
I
able
know.
to trust Lord in that, so just hopefully that encourages you. But you're a great mother. I mean, we can all tell by Facebook how proud you are of your
Oh my
son.
God.
Yeah.
I know. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm
obsessed.
like scrolling through Facebook. I'm like, oh, here's another 40 pictures of a football game. But it's because you're proud. And that's awesome to
Right. I
see.
am very proud.
Yeah. Yeah, we can
Very.
tell. So
Thanks, Andrew.
yeah.
Yeah, Colleen, I like number one. What's up? I'm so happy
Hey.
you made it here. And I'm just loving just catching up with you, with everyone else on this podcast. Like we all knew each other for a while at Valley Forge, and then we all left as well, and just so many like just different stories. And but all of them are great because yes, we've all went through some hard times, and you went through some really hard times and some dark times, but now you're here, you're still going. And even if
Yeah.
even if you have hard times in front of you, I can't imagine sending one of my kids on a plane like that, but especially during COVID. But just like the other guy said, God's got him in his hands. And I just want to say, I knew you at Valley Forge as a strong woman, and you're even stronger now. You don't realize it, but the things that you've been through have made you stronger because, hey, you're still kicking, you're still going. So keep on getting stronger.
And I forget about that too. Like I will admit, I thought I was a very strong woman back in Valley Forge, but there are times lately where I have to, like you said, I gotta remind myself I'm still strong, you know. And having to send my baby on a plane proves that, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you said that too, because I still am strong.
Yep.
So no,
Hey, you're small too. You could probably fit in his luggage.
Listen, coming from the first man on this planet
Hey, this is
to
about
ever
you, not me.
wait a minute, to the first man ever on this planet to almost get eaten by a camel because he had a Pop-Tart in his pocket. Yeah, you.
Hey, come on. I had a bunch of Pop
You
Tarts
know
in my
you were
pocket.
afraid.
I was very afraid. They were huge.
so
Exactly.
before we get, we're gonna transition into the question segment here in a minute.
Okay.
And lately on these podcasts, the questions segment / story segment have kind of blended in together
Yeah.
to become one. And if that happens, that happens. If not, I know there's some stories you want to touch on, and we'll get to those. If we don't touch on them during the questions, we'll get to them after. But one thing I want to say really quick before we get into the questions, I learned a very interesting fact about Colleen yesterday. And I don't know how many people know this fact, but learning this fact makes everything make so much more sense. So
Yes.
Colleen was born on a Friday the 13th. So now
Yup.
there should be no need for explanation for anything else.
Of any sort. It explains it all.
So I just wanted to bring that up. All right, so let's go into the questions. Buda and I are both going to kind of rapid fire these questions, and we'll let Andrew chime in with his
Yeah,
responses
absolutely.
and stuff as we go. We'll just kind of do it naturally.
Can I do one disclaimer first?
No.
Please?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. So anyone who's watching this on YouTube, if you see me moving a lot and whatever, is before this even started, we had tornado warning. So I had to be like, hold up, Hat. I got to run downstairs. There's a tornado warning. And then my laptop wasn't working. We spent almost like half hour trying to get the laptop. So now I'm doing this over my phone. So if you ever see me pull it close to my face, it's because I can't hear them correctly. So I'm trying to listen to what you guys are saying.
Fair enough. Okay, so the first question, and now I asked Junior this on his podcast, and I don't think he actually gave me the full answer. So, like here in Michigan, we call ourselves Michiganders. What is Jersey a Jerseyan? Is that what they call you?
Okay. So technically, yeah, but I'm Dirty Jers. There
Okay.
are some people called Dirty Jers, but Jerseyans, yes.
Okay. Well, either way, so this question comes from a fellow Jerseyan. Then,
Okay.
it comes from Matt Baldwin, and he wants to know, why are you so loud?
Again, I love that you made the disclaimer at first. Well, one, I was born on Friday the 13th. Two, I get it from my mama. It's like, and I was born that way. Literally, I think I came out loud, honestly, and I don't even mean I mean to do it. I don't even know I do it half the time. I'm just loud. And even Tyler, like at his football games, I cannot help it. I cannot. And if you've ever seen any of Tyler's football videos that I post online, I'm screaming. And I mean screaming. And he gets mad at me. Like on the football field, he'll turn around and he'll do the zip it sign. He'll be like, zip it, mom, I can hear you. And the one thing he hates is baby. And I've tried to not say, go, baby, and try to be like, go, Tyler, go. So last weekend he was playing, and I remembered, and I told myself right before, because certain plays, so I knew Tyler was going to get the ball. And I'm like, just say Tyler and don't be loud. Nope, didn't happen. As soon as he got the ball, I was like, bah! Like I was loud. Which brings me to, because like you said, some of the questions lead into other things, and I have things written down. So why are on Matt Baldwin's Why Are You So Loud? And what James Majeski said on his podcast about I'm walking down the hall. Okay. So at this point, I was living in Wells Up. And Wells Up, the only thing separating 24 down and Wells Up was the mailroom. Do you remember that? There was like a road, you connected to the mailroom and like whatever. So, and we could have been going to Wawa. And I remember correctly, if I do, I think Andrew was there too. And it was like spring semester, and we all know there's no air conditioning. So all the windows are open. So you can hear my big ass mouth. And I think there was like 3 different cars. I do not remember who was all there, where we were going. But again, I am prima donna, tomboy at the same time. So my makeup, whatever, I always take long. So they're all getting frustrated. So I don't know who calls me. And not only can they hear me on the cell phone, but all the windows are open. And I'm literally shutting my door, answering the phone. They're like, where are you? And I'm like, I'm walking down the hall. And they're all dying because not only did they hear me on the phone, but you could hear me inside still when the windows are upstairs. So, yeah, I born like that, man. I cannot help it.
All right, so we do have a question from Tom, and it's a 2-parter, but I'm going to save the second part for after you finish the first part. Do
Okay.
you still sing? He wants to know if you still sing.
Ooh, and that kind of ties into Phil Anderson's question. So I'm not going to get too much into that, but I try. It's not like it was back in Valley Forge. There was a time where I went to a church down the street, And actually, me and Tyler were the only white people there, and I loved it. I was part of the praise and worship, the only white girl up there, and I was singing for a little bit. But I got my job at ShopRite, and not that this is a reason why you don't go to church, but it was mandatory for you guys to work Sundays, got $1 more, so that's like big money day as a single mom. So I stopped going to that church. That was probably 3 or 4 years. Either other than singing my house, mm, I miss it terribly. But I'm going to leave it at that because someone else is going to get into a question that I want to get deeper into.
Sure, absolutely. I remember seeing you in the big choir. Were you in the concert choir as well, or just it was the big choir?
Yes, and house choir, and the concert choir I was actually with Anne's wife, and we were in Italy and like 2 weeks, like crazy. I've done a lot in music in my life, so even though I'm not in it right now, I mean, I've tried out for American Idol, The Voice, like I've been to Italy, I've been to Ohio and Virginia, and I've done a lot actually in singing. So it is sad, but like shit happens, life goes on. But no, I'm not singing like I would like to.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. The second part of the question was, what was it like to break the sound barrier?
Wait, I'm confused. I don't understand.
That's from Tom. I guess it's another.
Is that just him bashing me because I'm loud, or did I actually break a sound barrier?
No, it's absolutely him bashing you for being loud.
Okay.
Probably every question will end with, "Why are you so loud?" Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I did break the sound barrier. I'm sorry.
Several times. So. All right, so this next question, apparently I'm getting all the Jerseyans, which I've learned is the proper lingo. So this is another two-parter, and this comes from James. His first question is great. He says he wants to know if you could live in 24 Down, who would you want to room with?
Oh my gosh, love that question. And you know what? I really put thought into this podcast, so he must have messaged you secretively because I didn't have time to even think about this. So this is something I wanted to touch on earlier too, is yes, my loudness, and yes, I got mad, whatever, but I had a passion for 24 Down. Like, if you cross us, whatever, I couldn't help it. I just got, and there were parts that, well, okay, I'm a girl, and obviously, whatever, so it's different from you guys living on the floor, but there were times where I would get mad if you didn't invite me to Wawa because I just wanted to be around you guys, and I was jealous of the times where you guys were rooming together, and there was so much more fun stuff going on behind the scenes. But after I started listening to the podcast and actually hearing what actually went down in 24 Down, of people pooping on the floor, you guys just being naked the whole time, all this stuff, I'm like, actually, I'm not so jealous anymore. Like, never mind, you guys can have that moment. It was very funny to listen to. But if I could, I don't know, James Majeski. Okay, so you know what? So room 117 was the big room where you could fit more people in. It was closest to the end where the door was to that little tiny sitting area. Does that make sense? Is that the big room, room 117? But do you remember in that sitting area, there was a door to a place. It was still connected to 24 Down, and that was where the RAs first were. Do you remember that door? Am I making sense?
It went into that apartment, didn't it?
Yeah.
Well, when you first came into that lobby, there was a door there, because I remember in the beginning we had to be quiet because someone lived there. That's where I would actually choose to live, so I'd kind of be separate, off the floor, away from you guys, but still be close enough to still be considered on the floor, if that makes sense. Because I don't think I could choose. If I had a chance, if it was my way, it would just be this big open place, and everyone have their bunk beds, and everyone just be together. Does that make sense too?
If I remember correctly, so that door you're talking about was part of the apartment, but I think there was a portion of time where the ARA lived there, and I don't remember if that was was that Donovan maybe? I don't remember. But
I don't know.
there was a period of time where the ARA was in the quote unquote apartment, but he was in that room, and so that was the access to his
It was connected. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Separate
All right.
room, but still connected.
The other question from James is he wants to know if you have ever been asked to use your inside voice outside.
All the time. All the time. Even when I'm at my son's football games, I'm sure I still hear that and we're outside.
So the next question, Andrew, do you remember your question, or do you want me to go ahead and read it?
Yeah, I remember it.
All right, so Andrew, this one's from Andrew, so we'll let him ask it.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought, do you still collect Coca-Cola stuff?
Ooh, yes. And just because of all the issues that I had in the beginning trying to even get this thing going, I don't even know if there is a button that I could like switch the screen around, but my kitchen is facing me. So I don't have everything that I used to have, but I have quite a bit of the Coca-Cola stuff. So my kitchen is all Coca-Cola. I painted the doors black and red for the Coca-Cola. I have all my old Coca-Cola bottles up top on the cabinets. My toaster's red. Like all the accents are red to match the Coca-Cola. I haven't collected any Coca-Cola stuff in a while, but I still do have majority of it.
Nice. Yeah, I remember you loved Coca-Cola, and then for your birthday, the one year, we had a Coca-Cola cake.
Was that at Valley Forge or was
Yeah.
that at my house?
No,
Okay,
it was
so
at Valley Forge. Your friend brought it.
oh, it was at one of the dinner tables.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
in the yes.
Yeah.
She actually handmade that. That was Christy. Oh my gosh. I remember, and this is how I feel old, is that I can't remember half of everybody's last name, and it's gonna kill me. But her name was Christy. That's who made the cake. But yeah, I still have a majority of my Eagles stuff. I mean Eagles. Ha! Now I moved on to Eagles. You see my house with Eagles. But I have most of my Coca-Cola stuff. Haven't collected any in a while, but I have it. It's on display.
That's awesome. So we have a couple questions from Wolfie, and he says, "What was your favorite activity that we did as a 24 down family?"
Okay, so, and I know that everyone's heard this a lot. I cannot pinpoint one activity. So it was more of all the intramural sports. So everyone talks about the field right in front of 24 down. It could have been us playing soccer all together. It could have been football. It could have been, and I think it's called ultimate frisbee. Do you guys remember when we would have like 25 people deep just playing ultimate frisbee? I think that's what it was called. And actually, I'm glad that you asked this question, Buda, because do you remember? And I think you thought you actually hurt me. Remember when I went up in the hospital? Do
Tell
you
the
vaguely
story.
remember that?
Vaguely, tell the story. I would love to hear it.
Okay, so it was at night, and we were all playing soccer in that front field, and me and you collided. Well, you know, even though I like to do my makeup, but I was a tomboy too, and I went full force, and we did collide. And nothing happened at that moment. And later that night, I was going home with Colleen. Everybody remember Colleen? And if me and her were ever in the same room, and if someone said Colleen or Colleen, we both said yeah. But that next morning when I woke up at her house, I just did not feel good. And then I just felt off. And we came back, and do you remember the apartment towards the end that Carrie and Raven had? Close to 24 down, but I was in there and I wasn't feeling good, and I was laying on the couch, and Carrie came out. She's like, "You all right?" And I'm just like, "Something's off, don't feel good." Got taken to the hospital, and I wound up getting admitted to ICU for an entire week, okay, because they said I had holes in my esophagus. Well, when you heard that, and I didn't come home for a week, you were just like, "Oh my God, it's because of me. I heard her." And I was like, because there was one time in ICU that a bunch, and this is how 24 down was, a bunch of you, I cannot remember who, there was at least 5 to 6 people in ICU. You know, ICU, you're not allowed to have visitors, but this is how 24 down did. They were there forever. Helene was there, bought Play-Doh, all kinds of crazy stuff from the dollar store. And like the where you eat your lunch, those trays that go over you in the hospital. So we were all doing like Play-Doh stuff, and we're doing inappropriate Play-Doh stuff. Like, I'm not trying to, you can imagine. And the nurse comes in, and she had to either check my temperature or whatever. And we had the curtains pulled just because we're freaking loud. I'm loud. And she laughs when she sees what all the little things that we're building out of Play-Doh, and she goes, "I'll come back later." She's like, "Just keep your voices down." But no, you did not hurt me. That was a fluke, random thing. Still don't know why tiny microscopic holes were in my esophagus. But those things like soccer, any kind of activity in front of 24 down, even if it was just sitting and talking, that had to be my favorite thing. Obviously, even the cafeteria too, but that's been brought up before.
Yeah, those nights were the greatest. I remember them, especially my first and second year. Especially my first year, I remember being out there for a long time.
Yeah.
Ultimate Frisbee was the greatest. It was
Yes.
humid some nights, and we would be sweating, but we would just be going at it. And those were the nights of like 11 o'clock curfew or 1 o'clock. I don't remember what it was. Do you remember what it was? Was it 1 o'clock?
I do, and I'm going to get into that after the questions of how my Valley Forge first started. But our first year, because you were there in 2004 with me, it wasn't 24 down yet.
Yeah.
Well, it was, but you know what I mean, what we're talking about. So my first year there, there was curfew and the doors got locked.
Yeah.
But when 2005, they stopped locking the doors, and I do not believe there was curfew anymore, but there was a curfew, and it was like 11 something, and doors got locked. You know your card that you had to swipe for chapel?
Mm-hmm.
That's how you were able to get in with your dorm to your dorm, was your card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I remember that first year, we were so glad that the curfew was gone, and we could stay out there for a long time. And those were great. And that field was also very bumpy. And I'm glad no one really got hurt. I mean, you got hurt,
but it wasn't because of that.
Yeah. But those are some great memories. He has another one here from Wolfie. If you could slap one person from VFCC back in the day, who would it be?
So when I first read this question, I was skimming over, you know what I mean? So in my mind, I read it, if you could slap one person in 24 down, who would it be? And I'm like, I couldn't think. I'm like, you know what? As when I thought it was 24 down, I was like, I'd slap all of you. I can't pick one person. But then I reread it today when I was trying to get serious and writing things down. When you take it out of just 24 down in VFCC, there's somebody, but I'm not going to mention names because I'm going to get into, and I think after you hear other things later, you might like understand who. But slapping someone's fighting words, and we're all adults now. But I may have slapped one or two people, but we'll just keep it like that. But if it came down to 24 down, I'm slapping y'all.
The slaps, would it be for people that were receiving a paycheck from Valley Forge or students?
Okay, so I don't understand that question.
So would it be like an RA, an RD, President Meyer?
Oh, okay. So for people of VFCC, it might have been an RA or two.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I got it.
All right, I got a question from Big Daddy for you, from Rick. His is a two-parter. The first part you hit on a little bit just with football, but how's the sports season with your son going?
So I'm actually glad he asked that question because, I've talked a little about his football. So this weekend is our last weekend with football, and now he's been playing football for like 3 years, and he's been on some good teams. One of the coaches, when he actually played tackle, was Quentin Michaels, from a retired Eagles player. So you already knew I was happy as pie for his coach to be an ex-Eagles player. And we've had teams where they never won a game or whatever, but the team he's on now, one of the first games we won 48-0, and last week they won 60-0. Spanked them. Okay. So this Sunday is his championship football game. So I don't know if you guys, well, obviously you guys do know because you're boys, but like a basketball bracket, how they do that, like March Madness, that's kind of how it's going to be on Sunday. So you play one game. If you win that game, you go to the second game. You win that game, you go to the third game, which is the championship. Last year, they did not win a game. And so we go into the championship the day of the 3 games thinking, okay, we're leaving after the first game. They haven't won a game. You know that these mother effers won the first game. Not only did they win the first game, but they won the second game. We didn't pack lunch. We thought we were going home. So they make it to the third round, which is the championship round, and they lost by a touchdown. So to go from not winning a game to make it to the championship, so it was really sad to watch because it's not about trophies, but we are human, and the trophies are displayed in front of everyone. So to watch those little boys who are not grown men yet walk by them trophies, going from cloud 9 to walking by the trophies and not getting one, it broke my heart. But I really do think they have a good chance this Sunday of maybe going all the way. I mean, 60-0. I mean, that's pretty good. But I've also told Tyler that it could go either way. Look what happened last season where you didn't win a game, but you still made it to the championship. Even though you're a good team, there's 3 games. Anything can happen, not about the trophy. But, still be on your game, blah, blah, blah. So it's going good. So, and championship game is Sunday, so keep you posted. You'll see the videos and me screaming all that, so you'll find it all out on Facebook.
Sounds good. We'll be cheering for him on Sunday. You could also bring like a 24 down sign,
Listen,
to let him know we're all going to be
the
cheering for
other
him.
day too. I wish I had all of you there screaming for him with me.
All right, and then the second part of Rick's question was, what's your favorite Big Daddy memory?
Okay, so my favorite Big Daddy memory is going to be not like the normal of just like a wrestling down video. And this plays into the part about me being loud. So that field right in front of 24 down, where we were talking about playing all the sports. Can't remember who was all outside, but obviously me and Big Daddy and everyone was around. And something happened to where me and him both laughed at the same time. And someone made a comment saying, "I don't know who's louder, you or Big Daddy." And so I think they made us like re-laugh again, but I can't do it on the spot. It just happens naturally. You can ask Big Daddy and he can do it. So I'm sure he won, but there was a moment where you guys all were like, dude, Colleen, you might have competition. I don't know who's louder, you or Big Daddy. So that is a moment that I will always remember about Big Daddy. But if you ever put us together in a competition, he definitely would beat me just because he just has that natural, just loud voice. So do I, but he would definitely beat me. And I think he did that day too.
That's funny.
I think that Colleen's in denial right now for her. So
No, I think he did beat me.
all right, so this next question comes from Phil Anderson, the flag burner. And before I get into this question here, I want to say something really quick. So I call Phil and Alex the flag burners on here multiple occasions, and I've hinted at the fact that there's going to be a episode dedicated to the whole flag saga and everything like that. I was actually just talking to Phil yesterday. This is another little like preview for an upcoming episode. Phil is going to come on here at some point soon. For those of you that didn't get a chance to meet Alex and get to know Phil and stuff like that, this episode I really, really think is going to be a redemption episode. Because when you hear their side of the story and when you hear their intent of the story and when you hear things that happen on their end, and there's so much to unpack, and I'm really looking forward to it because I know there's some people that didn't get that opportunity to meet them. And this will be a great opportunity to hear a different side of things. If I could go back in time, probably still would have marched up to, I think it was Todd's door and probably would have still been cussing him out. But other than that, I think I would have like eased up a little bit. But anyway, that's just a little tease. So the question from Phil, he's got 2, and I'll just ask them both, and you can answer them together.
Okay.
He wanted to know what your major was and what your favorite class or professor was.
Okay. So I'm glad that you started that out, Phil. So before I answer his questions, because Phil's thing kind of going to lead to something I'm going to talk, obviously, learning, whatever. But the second Zoom call, okay, so obviously I've never all this
Colleen.
Well, I don't know what happened. Something
Wait.
won't stop.
Wait, hold on. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Colleen?
Yeah.
All right, hold on. Your audio.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, your audio was terrible there, so I'm gonna edit all this out. But like, just
Okay.
try it again. Just
Okay, I don't remember left, but
Just
get
start.
in Phil's question. I want to get into. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good. Just start over, like you didn't say anything yet.
Okay. So before we get into Phil's questions, I want to start off as this because obviously everybody was mad about the flag burning and everything like that. But I think it wasn't like the flag itself. It was more like if you gave us a chance, we would accept you anyway. There's just animosity. So I never knew what they look like. So the second Zoom call, I must have said something about the flag, and all of you guys are dying laughing because you're like, actually, that's Phil. He was on the Zoom call, and he's like, he's one of the flag burners. And of course, it was another busting my balls moment, and we were all laughing. And then I don't remember exactly what I said, but I made him repeat after me, I love 24 down, and he did. So right there in my book, you redeemed yourself. Also on this topic, so I don't know if y'all know, when the flag happened, obviously it was right around 300. We'll talk about that later. But I had called my mom. I was so mad, and I was just flipping out about the flag burning. Just everybody was. Well, she called freaking Dr. Mortensen, and I was in Dr. Mortensen's office a lot for other things. So he's sitting me down, but he also went on the Italy trip with the concert choir. So I did know him a little bit just from that. And he's like, kind of like sat me down, like, here we are again. He's like, what's your problem? And at this point, it was towards my end of the semester where I always wanted to go to VFCC, but I was just feeling like the rules and regulations. So I brought up a lot in that conversation, and I let him have it. You guys can imagine. I'm like, they burned our flag. Da 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 da. This person did this 2 years ago, and you expelled that person, and they were only coming to you because they were admitting what they did 2 years ago because they felt bad, whatever. And I'm like, you guys are just gonna let them burn the flag. So I was in the office with Dr. Mortensen complaining about this whole friggin' flag thing. But I do have to say, years later down the road, didn't even know what he looked like, and on the Zoom thing. So you're A-okay in my book. It's in the past, Phil, and shit happens. So to your first question, what was my major? And this is where I made Buda. I didn't want to get into too much to Tom's question, is because it was voice, music, performance. I was in the choirs. My major was music. And like I said, I got into it a little bit. I freaking miss it. I mean, even down to I sang the national anthem at a lot of the basketball games. I miss that so much. Coach Max sometimes would actually call me if someone canceled last minute and be like, hey, you around? Can you sing? I sang the national anthem in my high school too for the basketball games. Not all of them, but so even to drag that over to the Christian college, like I miss singing it, the national anthem at basketball games. I miss singing in the choirs. I do a lot. Like I said, I've done a lot in music, so I can't be like too disappointed because I've done things that some people have never done. No, I'm not the next Beyonce, but I do miss it, and I did 100% go to that college for music. Did I know I was going to meet you guys too? No, but it was definitely music. And I do miss it. I sang all the time.
Is it me? Okay,
Yeah.
here we go. So Junior has a couple of really cool questions for you. The first one is this, and you may have to think about this a little bit, but please rank the individual Brazilian twins and English twins by best looking from first to fourth place. And he says starting with Oberio Jr. in first place, but you can put him in first if you want, or last. It's up to you. First through fourth.
And when I ask question, even if I wrote wrong, I would have to use that question. I am not answering that question. You out of your mind.
Colleen.
I'm not going to
Colleen,
make
hold on.
any of you hottest whatever.
Hey, Hey, hold on. You're gonna have to. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, you're gonna have to do it again.
Oh my God.
It's just the audio is
Okay.
yeah.
You guys hear now?
A little bit.
Ah,
All right, now,
sorry.
don't be sorry.
You're good? We good? Okay. So going back to Carl's question, I want to slap Junior for that question because I'm not rating any of them because I love them all the same. But I will get to this in 24 hours happened. I couldn't tell Francis apart from Yugi, and I couldn't tell Mikey from Junior at first. So there was times where I'd be next to either Junior or Mikey, and like, no, I'm Mikey or I'm Junior. Francis and Yugi did the same thing at the beginning, but once you to nobody, you could close your eyes just by their faces. You could tell who it is, and now no mistake of who. But I am not ranking any of you. I love you all the same, you jerk. I'm not answering that question.
Hey, can I throw something in here? I'll just say this. The English twins have the hair, but the Brazilian twins have the body.
Oh my God. So there you go. Andrew answered that question for me.
I would choose Junior myself, but you know, we're no one asked me. But when he has another one, when you are mad, does your hair get redder than your face?
Oh my gosh. So I told, like, obviously, like Junior said in his podcast, we are on national TV. So you better believe I dyed my hair last night. You're not seeing my gray hair. I was telling that to Josh. So I normally dye my hair red. So technically, my face matches my hair. So technically, yes, it does.
Awesome. And lastly, this is a little along the way of one question we asked already from Wolfie, but what did you love most about the 24 Down family?
Yeah, kind of the same thing. Like, actually, I wrote down the diversity, actually. Because there's a lot of people that say, you know, when you think about it, we came from all different states, all different nationalities. Like, it's like misfit toys. But the way that we loved each other was just crazy. So obviously, the cafeteria and the grass in front of 24 Down and just everybody being together, again, you cannot pinpoint that because honestly, if you think about it, and most people say I can't explain it, the reason why you can't explain it is because it was God. God, we were meant to be there. Every single person that was there, no matter what, where you came from, whatever, we were meant to be there, and that's why it worked. So there is no set anything to do with 24 Down. I was there. I wanted to be a part of it. It could just be sitting down eating. It could be freaking playing soccer or whatever. Going to Wawa. All of it. All of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it kind of brings me back to what I said in my episode way back when, that I was going to Valley Forge, and when I was first going there, I was praying for a friend, and I got like 50 or 60. It's just amazing
Yeah.
what God did and brought us so close together. And there was no other floor that was like a movement like our floor. Like
Right.
I think it was like either 4 Down or 4 Up tried to be something with Miles and this other guy that was there, and then 24 Up tried to be something, but we were the thing. And I don't think
Yeah.
anyone topped us. I don't know what they're
No.
doing there now, but I think we're kind of legend right now.
We've always been legend, Buddha.
So with that, that's pretty much all of the questions.
Question.
So now, before we sign off for the night, I know there's some different stories that you want to get into, some different topics. I'll start you off, and
Okay.
I'll let you go. I've got some stuff written down here that I know you want to get into, but the one thing that like has really stood out to me through those questions is how much 24 Down means to you. And I know it meant so much to you that you went and got a tattoo of it, and you were actually the first person
I
to
was
do
actually
it.
the first person ever to get on the hill. um, And it's great about that moment too. Actually, this is one question I wanted to ask who else got it. I know you did, but when I got it, so when you go to Forge, even in the beginning, you didn't have to like write down on a piece of paper how many tattoos you had, but you had to like, it was like known, you had to tell your RA with how many tattoos you had. And I think I told my RA that I had maybe one or two more than I actually did because I knew I was going to get more. Didn't know it was going to be the 24 down tattoo. So I do go, and it had to be a tattoo parlor around Valley Forge because obviously we're not going to drive whatever. But when I went to go get this tattoo, again, my brain, just everyone else had to be either 5, 7, or 24 members that went with me, and they were in the room with me getting this tattoo. So I don't have the typical like 24 down tattoo like in the back of your podcast. Mine is a heart with angel wings, and then underneath the angel wing, and it's on my shoulder, it says 2-4 down. Now, because I was at the college, I got 2-4 down really tiny because I guess there was a little part of me afraid of getting in trouble. So, like, if they saw it, I was going to be like, oh, I already had this tattoo. You know, you have to get really close to see the 24 down. But now, after it's been like, what, 12, 13 years, it has faded, and you have to get really close to actually see the 24 down. And there's actually a couple tattoos. Like, I want to get Tyler's footprint too. There's another tattoo in my life coming. But I would like to get the 24 down touched up. But the only reason why I have it so small is because I was still at college. And even though all of them people were in the room with me, now I got called down in the office so much I could paper my wall with all the fines, okay? Never got called down to the office with 5 to 7 people in there ever for this tattoo. And most of the times we did something, somebody ratted us out. I still can't believe till this day nobody ratted me out for this dang tattoo. But yeah, I am the first person to ever get the tattoo. I think you were the second, Josh. I know Andrew has one, and I think maybe one of the English twins has one. But who else has the 24 down tattoo?
I gotta get one, guys. I gotta get one.
So Francis has one. I'm trying to remember if Gene got one while I was living with him or not. I can't remember. D-Shat's thinking about getting one.
Well, D-Shat needs to get it.
Well, they kind of have that brother one. That
Yes.
Adelph.
We have a bunch of us have the Adelphos one too. But yeah, 24 down, Colleen. If I remember correctly, it's you and me, Francis. I don't know. Does Tom have one? No, Tom got.
No, that's why I named you guys, because I think we're the only ones so far.
Right. Well, anyway, it's very interesting. If you've got a 24 down tattoo, send us a message so we can see it.
Yeah.
And everybody listening right now, go get a 24 down tattoo.
Yeah, go get your 24 down tattoo.com.
All right. So another thing, and I don't want to go out of order. So if you want to just go your own way, like go your own way. But so earlier you were talking about, this is something that I kind of want to hear. Earlier you were talking about 300 and the night of 300. And so I want to hear from you again, because it's been a while since, like, I remember bits and pieces. What happened that night?
Okay. So, and it's good that you asked that, because that's part of one of my questions that I want to talk about. And in the beginning of this, I was writing stuff down, and I never wanted to be like choppy, whatever. I was trying to make the questions go into my questions. And so, okay, 300 is talked about. And I believe, because this was right around the time, and I believe it was fall semester, because when we went to the movie theater to see it, I believe there was still snow on the ground. So that had to be fall semester.
It was spring semester, but it was March 9th. March 9th.
Okay, so there was still probably snow on the ground. And that does make sense because I believe I left that semester, spring semester, I said in the beginning. And I do believe it was 2008. So it was probably the beginning of spring semester. And of course, carloads, buttloads, okay, all of us. And of course, it spread around campus quick. And Andrew wanted to go, and I believe that Andrew wanted to go so bad, but he was so conflicted that I believe, now I could be wrong, he even made it to the car. but he was just like, I can't do it. I
Well, I
can't do it.
couldn't
I'm
because I was the RA, so I knew that if I went, I'd get in big trouble. So
right. I do believe that you at least you wanted to go so bad that you at least made it to somebody's car, and then you were like, no, dude, I can't do it. I can't do it. And nobody hated you for that. We all understood. So we get to the movie theater, okay? And of course, my big mouth, and there's been lots of moments in my time where I flipped out and got mad and whatever. We all know this, but it was only because I felt so passionately about 24 Down. And like some of these people who told on us were actually part of, if you want to consider them, 24 Down. They would do things with us. They would sit at our table. They would, so it was even like kind of like, are you serious right now that you are ratting on us? So we go into the movie theater, and I'm not going to name names, but there was people there. And because before we left campus, I believe that certain people knew that this was what was happening. So as we walk through the movie theater, out of the corner of my eye, I see people writing names down, literally with a freaking notebook and a pen. I remember it clear as day, okay? Writing each and every single name down who walked through that door. And of course, Colleen gets pissed. And as loud as I could, I turn around, I'm like, you're effing B. And then it was just that, no confrontation, just had to let that person know you're a B for that. Like, seriously. So we all go in and we watch 300. And obviously flag burning happened after that. Now, you guys previously stated because of Mark Talesha, you guys don't think that you guys got fined. Now, because I'm a female, I had a different RA. And I believe at that time it was Amy Miller, and we're going to get into Amy Miller, but me and Amy Miller never hit it off, even down to the first time, which I'll talk about. I think I got fined for both. Not only did I get fined for seeing 300, but I also got fined for cussing somebody out, if I can remember correctly. So it was like a couple days after it, maybe the day after, I don't remember. But I think that she was just so tired of calling me in her office. Like, it was at the end of a chapel, and she pulls me to the side towards the back of the chapel, and she puts 2 chairs down. I don't know if she was trying to seem sympathetic, but we were talking about the whole thing. And of course, I like flipped out. I'm like, how do you even say that? Like, obviously we did wrong, so an R-rated movie, but was it really that big of a deal where you have to put me on display when everyone's leaving chapel? You know what I mean? So that pissed me off too. But I believe I got fined for both things, seeing 300 and cussing somebody out. So that's kind of my story of 300.
I want to know something, because I wish I was there that night, because a couple weeks later I went to go see it in Yonkers, and I wish I went to see it with you guys. But listen, I don't really care. I want to know who was writing those names. I want to know who told on you guys. I really want to know.
So I will say this, like it was somebody that was in our circle. Now,
In our circle or on our floor?
No, in our circle.
Circle.
Okay.
It was a female.
If it was a female, I can kind of. I'm not.
It was a
okay with it,
female.
but if it was a guy, I would be really, really upset. Not.
I think if I remember correctly, there was 2 of them. One of the 2 of
But
them.
there was only one person writing down the names.
Right.
It's
That
probably
other
Baldwin.
person.
It's probably Baldwin. He had
What?
girl hair back then.
One of the, if I remember the names correctly, one of the 2 of them I'm so cool with today, and the other one I haven't
Same.
seen.
I was still
haven't seen
cool with
since
that
college.
other. Oh, I don't know who you're talking about, but I was still cool with the other person. She was still cool. I think she just went along with the joyride of it. She
Yes.
kind of was just standing there. She didn't actually write names down, but there was
Yes.
one person that names down. I don't know if I
Hey,
want to
you
make
know
a
what?
name.
I don't care. I'll name a name. I'll name the one name that like I don't care to name, because I think this is the one that was writing things down, and it was
After you
Allie.
did.
Was it Allie?
Yep, it was
Yeah.
Allie.
Yeah.
Yep.
I kind of remember that now. I remember hearing about that, and then maybe after that, we kind of stopped hanging out with her. I don't know if we did or
Yeah.
not, but I remember she started dating the ugly guy from 4 Down or something like that. Baldy, I can't remember his name.
So like Colleen's not exaggerating, no joke. Like, we all go see this movie. and probably bad idea on her part, because if you would have thought about like what kind of movie they are that they're seeing and like their mood that they're going to be in when they get out of this movie, we literally walk out of the theater, not outside, just out of the actual theater itself into like the little lobby area, and she's sitting there with a pen and a notepad. Oh, okay,
Yes.
Josh. Oh, Colleen. Like, what did you think was going to happen? Like, I get it, like, but
Did you not think I wasn't going to curse you out?
So yeah, no, that
But I do. Before you get into the next question, this leads me into something else that I want to talk about now that we dropped names. Sorry, you dropped the name, not me. So everyone remembers the banquet, the Vive or Vive, whatever it was called, banquet, where everyone got really, really dressed up. A lot of us were there. God, 50 or more people. And I love that time too, because that was close to my time of leaving Valley Forge. And it was kind of like my last hoorah with you guys, and we were all dressed to the nine. We all talk about like dress up days for 24 down at campus. I mean, girls were in gowns, boys were in suits. Like, we came dressed to the T. And I know there's pictures circulating. And I know one of the rules at Valley Forge were obviously no R-rated movies and no dancing. Well, Allie was at the Vive dance too, where everyone was dressed up. And we all started dancing at the end. And believe it or not, and I don't think anyone got in trouble for this. I think this one just kind of got brushed under the carpet. But I believe that she even went back and said, oh, there was dancing. Like, there was rumors going around that someone ratted on us because we were dancing at the banquet. And she was that person to, again, to say that. And you were there. Like, really?
Yeah, I'm telling you right now, like talking about these things that, because I never really got in trouble, but talking about these things that you guys and we got in trouble for, like it's like kid stuff now, like compared to
Yes.
where we're at right now, especially even in Christianity. Like me as a pastor, oh, you gonna see a rated R movie? Well, just watch out what you watch, because that, may do something, that may not, who knows. But like,
Right.
make our own decisions. Like, or 18 years old, we're supposed to be adults. I mean, I think a lot of the strictness maybe has gone down at Valley Forge. I'm not sure, but like especially in Christianity, like, I mean, there has to be a lot more, love than judgment. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not
Are you
not
like,
open to
we,
that
if
anymore.
they, in, we were dressed to the T. You know what I mean? And when we were dancing, it wasn't none of the bumping, grinding dancing. You know what I mean? It was more of us like at a mosh party, jumping up and down, like, you know what I mean, having a good ass time. So that's another reason, like, I couldn't take it anymore. Those rules and being in AG church my whole life, like, I had to leave. I couldn't take that kind of stuff anymore, because it was either I was going to bust everyone out, or they were going to kick me out, because I had it at that point.
Yeah.
So, okay, go move on. I had to add that little part in.
no, that's good. So we talked about some of the girls that obviously pissed you off, but let's take a minute now to talk about some of the girls that were your sisters, your 24 down sisters. I know you wanted to talk about the powder puff and everything like that.
I do want to talk about that. Oh my gosh.
Hold
You
on,
guys
Colleen,
know
you're
Monkey,
muted.
Carrie, Raven, even Helene. You guys know Helene. Jessica. I
Can you
forget her
guys hear
last
her?
name, but Jessica. What is her last name? Begins with an R. I know it does.
Hold on.
But
Can
Jessica, she was on the Powder Puff.
Colleen, can you start again? I apologize.
Don't apologize. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Can you hear me now? Okay. So Powder Puff, and the girls, Monkey, Raven, Monkey's sister, Carrie, Helene, Jessica R. I forget her last name. I cannot remember, but she was on the Powder Puff team too. All these girls, they know. Yugi's sister, Audra, Brittany, Erin. I couldn't, go on forever. But most of the time, 24 Down was mostly the boys. But then as we got bigger, the girls started, coming in. And it doesn't mean that everyone was dating the girls. It's just the group of girls that everyone hung out with. And if I remember correctly, we're kind of considered the groupies of 24 Down. So most people didn't really take us serious. But even down to the intramurals, like, I believe the baseball game that you were talking about, Rick, and all that, there had to be at least 3 girls, or there were still girls on the team. And they didn't play all the time because there's only like 3 spots open. So I do remember playing like the first 2 or 3 games of that baseball intramural, but there was only like 3 girls allowed, like I think at the time. And we didn't fight. We just turned whatever. I think I played the first, like I said, first 2 or 3 games, and then all the other girls stepped in too. For basketball, the girls were not involved in that. The soccer team, that was off campus with the youth group. Junior was saying that he had his shirt. I still have my soccer shirt. I think it was navy blue. And again, I didn't play all the games, but there was a certain amount of girls are allowed on. We did that too. You know, we were beasts too. And then it came down to powder puff football time. And I'm going to Pete's episode where when he was talking about their like football experience, their flag, and he said we might not have been like the most experienced football team, but they practiced for like 2 weeks prior. They had their plays down, everything. It was the same thing with the girls flag football team. And if I can remember, Ryan Frizzle, you know, I'm saying his last name wrong, Nate, Banks, maybe even Pete, they were like our coaches. And I remember for like a week or 2 before the powder puff, in that field again in front of 24 down, we were out there every day practicing, running over the plays. And now to this day, I can't remember them, but at that point we did it so much that I could have closed my eyes and remembered the plays. Like we went out there and we had like 10 different plays, and in each play everybody knew where to stand, where to go. Like we remembered our plays. And I don't know what the code words were, but they would shout a code word and we would know what play it was. And we were serious. And I think that we did, like Pete said, won it because, one, we're just that driven and we're 24 down, but we literally for 2 weeks straight practiced those plays and we're just so into it. And so Powder Puff Football Day came and we're all matching. I think each team had to have a certain color. We were pink, and it kind of goes with, you know, girls 24 down, pink. And some of you boys, I cannot remember who, but if I can remember correctly, you came as cheerleaders. I don't know if you were fully dressed up in skirts or whatever, but y'all came as cheerleaders. I can't remember correctly. And I can't remember how many games, but it's like my son's game. There was a couple of games. There was like 4 games maybe. We won the first game. We won the second game. It came to the third game, and Colleen had a moment, like she always does, but I'm going to like say why I had a moment. And these are the reasons why I would flip out and my Jersey girl side would come out, is because we're playing a team and they had tied their flags. So at first, like we can't get their flags, you know, whatever. So we figure it out, and the girls are nicely discussing it. Well, you have Colleen on the team. You know, I forget who the ref was. I can still picture him in my head, and I went off, and I'm like, they're tying their effing flags. Aren't you going to do something? Da, 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 and whatever. And some of the girls on their team were kind of mad at me for that afterwards because I flipped out. And I think at the end, we all had a meeting at Wells, in front of Wells, and one of the people had a congratulations speech. None of the boys were there, and she was like, well, some of the people acted right. And I was just like, come on, are you serious? But we went through that game, and then it came to the championship game, and we just spanked it all the way through. And the other day, I went back and I watched that video, and it just brought back so many memories. And it was at the end of that video, all you boys rushed out. The 24 down flag was in the video. We did the chant, like it was. And I feel like at that point, like, not that you boys didn't have respect for us, but it put us in a whole nother level because you guys already spanked all the intramurals. And then when it came down to the girls, we spanked it too. And you guys were like, yeah, that's our girls. That's 24 down. We didn't, we came to play. And I feel like also all the other people that weren't part of 24 down, like girl-wise, we kind of gained respect from them too. We weren't just the groupies. We gained a little bit of respect because later on that night at dinner, a lot of the other girls who kind of maybe had like smudged us or whatever, thinking like we were too good, and that wasn't us. You knew you could come, but they came up to us and like, congratulations, you guys did really good. I felt like there was like a respect there, So it was good. So it wasn't just the boys who spanked. So did the girls. We came to play, and we won the championships.
I actually went back and watched that video not long ago too, because I was watching the wrestling videos and different ones.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I was the one. I think it was Francis and I were in the background holding the signs, and I had one of the 24 down signs.
Yep, all of it.
Yeah.
It was so good to watch. It really was. It's been a long time. I forgot about it.
I was gonna say I don't remember being a cheerleader. The only time I remember being a cheerleader, and now this might have been after. Actually, it might have been after all three of you. There was a time that Valley Forge played Penn State Abington. I remember Murph was on the team, and for whatever reason, because it was Penn State, quote unquote, they brought their cheerleading team. This is a basketball game in the gym. And they brought the cheerleading team, and so I had the great idea, like, well, they got a cheerleading team, we should have one too. And we started like this like pyramid and like did all this kind of stuff or whatever. And like after the game, the coach of that team came up to me. She's like, I have never in my life seen anything so disrespectful about like it was bad. So I don't remember being a cheerleader, but I think I was just filming. So I who knows?
But there was boys, and that's why I said, please don't quote me. But there was a couple boys that did come up. I don't know if there was pom poms involved or skirts or something, but some boys came as cheerleaders. I can't remember exactly how or what.
I could see Andrew in a skirt for sure.
Honestly, I want to say Andrew was one of them. I'm not gonna lie, but I don't want to like speak out of not facts. But Andrew, I'm pretty sure you were one of them.
I don't know. I claim I plead the fifth.
So you guys ended up like you were dominant in that Powder Puff tournament, and
oh yeah, in all the games.
And on the opposite end, like that reminds me of a football team that is absolutely not dominant. I'm talking about the Buffalo Bills. Now you wanted to talk about, sorry, Tom, you wanted to talk about your Buffalo trip, so I will let you get into that.
Oh, okay. I see how you just spun that. Okay, at first he was like Buffalo Bills, and I'm like, what the heck? I'm an Eagles fan. So the Buffalo trip. Let me go back to my notes really, really quick. So, Buffalo trip, and this is where Andrew can probably like comment more because he was there. So I believe it was for a week, maybe 4 days. And the reason why we went is because Tom, everyone knows that Rizzo rapped and beatboxed and all that. He had a show. So I think this is why we all went down. And it was Andrew, me, Aaron, and she was dating Ryan Frizzle at that time, and Tom. And I think, Andrew, correct me, was there one more person?
My memory's bad. I'd have to look at the picture on Facebook, really.
But do you remember we all went?
Oh yeah, I remember.
So
this is going to be good that we're on here together. We have a great memory together of us in Buffalo.
Yeah. So, and I think this is why I feel like there was more people is because we were at Tom's house and his little brother was there, and he rapped with like 3 other people that we met. So there were times where we were at his house and he had a house full of his 3 friends from Buffalo and me, you, Aaron, Ryan, and himself. And so at Tom's show, and I'm sorry, I'm apologizing to you, Andrew, because I got mad at you and I think I said stop being my dad at that point. So at this point, I was 21. So I was allowed to drink, okay? And so it was pretty cool. They were really good. And there was a few other acts after Tom's show too. So we stayed for a little bit. But I went and had a few drinks and whatever, and I was loud, whatever. And then I forget exactly what happened, but the next act after called people on stage, and me, I'm like, woohoo, I'll go. So I go on stage, and you had to dance. So I'm dancing, had a few drinks, and the boys were like, this is why I love you, 24 down boys. You can break rules, whatever, but you're still like God faithful. You're like, oh, nope, Colleen, that is not, nope, that's not the intention. You look, nope, off stage. Get off stage. Doesn't look good. So I kind of got mad, and I'm like, stop being my dad. I wasn't doing anything wrong but dancing, but I can now look back and see probably the way I was dancing probably didn't look good. But, like, I was yelling at Andrew, and I'm like, stop being my dad, blah, blah. It was a whole weekend. So I do apologize for that. I didn't really – there's a few moments like that with me and you, and I'm sorry.
Hey, can I say my part here? because
Yes.
this is a great memory. I am not a person that likes to fight. I'm not a person that wants to I'm not confrontational. I'm not like that at all. But with Colleen that night was legitimately Frizzle was holding me back and Aaron was
He
holding
wanted
her
to punch
back.
me in the face.
And I wanted to seriously punch Colleen. And they seriously broke us up. Not a joke, because she was up on stage dancing and I'm in the back, and Tom and everybody's like, all right, we should go. And that guy was like, I remember he was really like this dirty, old, perverted guy who like rapped and sang about, like, but anyway, Colleen's up there. And so they're like, hey, we need to get going. So they're like, Andrew, go tell Colleen. So I was seriously out of nowhere. They were just like, go get Colleen. So I'm like, okay. So I go, I'm like, Colleen, we got to go. Like, we got to go. That's all it was. Well, she's like, she comes down. You don't tell me what to do. You're not my dad. How dare you? And she's flipping at me, and she flipped my switch, and I went off. And like I said, we were out in front of that club, and Frizzle was holding me back because I was like, I'm going to punch this girl. Oh my gosh. I forgot about that.
I do apologize for that.
Screaming.
But we did have good weekends. Like, I think in your podcast, like, you said it was one of your first times for drinking, whatever. And, like, we had a couple of days there, and me and Aaron both yelled at you. We were playing Guitar Hero, and we were like, Andrew, lay down. You know, I think you said that in your podcast, too. So we had a good weekend.
Oh, hey,
but
there's no hard feelings. It was great.
No, I know, but still, I'm sorry. But we also went up to Canada, to the Niagara Falls. Do you remember that? So this is part of the question that I'm glad this question got asked, because there's a part of that where I can't remember, but we went up to Canada to see Niagara Falls, and we walked by a hotel, and there was a pool there, and someone dared someone to jump in the hotel pool, like hop the fence and jump in the hotel pool. Now, I know that I did it, but I cannot remember if I was the only one who did it. So I did. I hopped the fence, I jumped in, it was like, I double dog dare you, hopped in the pool, and then we hopped the fence and hopped back out. We were soaking wet for the rest of the entire trip of Canada. But was it just me, or did somebody else jump in the hotel pool with me?
I don't think anyone else jumped in there with you. I think you were the only one, because I'm not a big rule breaker, so I didn't want to break the rules. But Colleen was like, don't care.
No, because someone was like, I dare somebody. I'm like, I'll do it. And I did, and I jumped in, but I can't remember. I don't know. I feel like someone else jumped in the pool with me, but it could have just been me by myself. That's not far-fetched.
It's definitely not far-fetched at all.
No, not at all.
I also like how I completely just like try and edit myself here. Took a dump on the Buffalo Bills football team as like a slam on Tom, and nobody wanted to bring up how bad the Lions are. So whatever. Speaking of Tom,
who?
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of Tom, I know you wanted to talk about the first time meeting Tom and Andrew as well, and I don't know if this connects or not, but you also wanted to talk about your first 3 weeks at Valley Forge.
It actually does. Pat, you're so good at this. It actually does connect. So I'm gonna start again. You know, everyone says this. I don't want to go too long. So this also connects to Amy Miller. So my first semester there, I was there in 2004. I believe Buda and a couple other people were there too, and I believe me and Buda like kind of knew each other, but it wasn't like 24 down. And I roomed in Damiani. So at that point, Damiani and Beisel were girls' dorm. I know towards the end it turned into guys' dorms. And there was curfew. Doors did lock. You had to swipe your card to get in. And at that point, I smoked cigarettes too then, just like I am now. So like I would sneak off campus too and smoke cigarettes. And Helene lived in Beisel, and they were connected. So we would be like smoking, but I'd be like, all right, Helene, I'm sneaking out, or like whatever, we're gonna be by the door, whatever. And then if I can remember correctly, it might have been her, it might have been somebody else. We had like one of them Wawa crates. We would also sneak in windows. Like they would hold the window open, we would sneak through the window and step on this crate. So my first year was in Damiani, and it was 3 weeks in. And Valley Forge did not know what they were getting themselves into when it came to letting me in. So sitting in. Go ahead.
Neither 24 down didn't know what they were getting themselves into either. Go ahead.
I know, but you guys are stuck with me now. So it was probably like 3 weeks in. And remember start groups? I know everyone keeps saying, so the first week you're there, you have start groups, so you meet people. So there was this guy named John Gill, and John Gill was brought up in, I think maybe Matthias's, but I think you said you didn't know him. He wasn't there the whole time. He might have left when you came, Hat. And you know, when you first go to college and the Christian college, your mindset is, I'm waiting till I'm married. I'm going to find my wife there. Well, some of these boys took that very seriously. I mean, like, I'm going to find my wife there, like, completely serious. So he was in my start group, and he was just infatuated. And later on, we become friends. But at first, I was tired of this guy. And he was very, like me, very upfront about it. He was like, I'm going to marry you one day and whatever. And if you know me, like, I don't need no man, you know, whatever. Like, it kind of got on my nerves. I'm like, I'm not being your wife. I'm not, you know, whatever. So I'm sitting in the lounge of 24 Down, like 3 weeks in, and it's lit. It's 8, 9 o'clock at night. And if I can remember correctly, there was a guy named Tamar Stone, and I was chill with him in my first year too. And he comes to me, he's like, he even knew 3 weeks in, he's like, don't get mad. He's like, and I didn't want to tell you this. Don't freak out. He's like, but as your friend, I feel like I need to tell you this. And John Gill was on the basketball team. And he goes, John Gill is going around telling everyone that you're his girlfriend and you guys kissed. And he went around and told the whole basketball team that you were his girlfriend. And, you know, I can't remember exactly, but like we've kissed or something like that. And that, like, right there will set me off. Like, in a heartbeat, like, I can be friends with you, but don't spread lies. So he's like, don't freak out. Well, I freak out. And I march my little butt to Bongiorno Hall late at night, and he was in Bongiorno Hall. And I forget who his roommate was, but I call his roommate, and I'm like, get your roommate outside right now. So John Gill comes outside with his little tough guy walk, and I start cussing him out. I mean, so loud that the entire campus, like later on, people later on down the road, when I would tell this story, they'd be like, oh my God, that was you. I was behind Bongiorno Hall, and I was like, who's this crazy girl? Like, cursing John Gill out. But the worst part is, Damiani, Kristen Mathesis or whatever, or Matthias, she was my RD leader from Damiani. And I loved her. Like she was my Mark Telesh to you guys. I was in her office, but when I went to her office, it was kind of like a counselor session. She would sit me down and be like, what'd you do now? You know what I mean? She wasn't first to like throw fines at me, but she was only my RD when I lived in Damiani. So I'm cussing John Gill out, and this girl comes out in a robe. And you know how girls, when they get out of the shower, they flip their hair and they put the turban on their head with the towel. I don't know how to explain that, but she comes out with the turban on her her head, the towel on her head, and her robe. And she comes up to us, and I'm in the middle of flipping out on John Gill. And I turned to her and I said, excuse me, this is none of your effing business. Then you hear her say, do you know who I am? Little do I know, because she's not my RD. It was Amy freaking Miller, the RD. And I'm like, this is none of your effing business. And she was like so butthurt. She was just like, do you know who I am? Break this up right now, blah, 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 blah. And that is how the start of me and Amy Miller's relationship started, which I did not help that process. But I feel like me and Amy were way two different people. We were never going to get along. And that proves through the years of even being with you guys how many fines she gave me. We just didn't get along. But I didn't help the situation. So I think it was like a couple days later, I got brought into Kristen Matthias's office, and she's like, what happened? You know, and I explained everything to her. And John Gill actually, I want to say he got put on like kind of like a probation. He wasn't allowed around me because I flipped out so bad. But later on down the road, we become friends, and we were able to laugh about it. And wherever he is, I'm sure he still tells that story of how I cussed him out. But that is the start of me and Amy Miller. So that is 2004. So I think when I met 24 Down was spring semester of 2005, getting into the start of this question. I told you, like you said, it was going to kind of combine into each other. And it was me and Jessica walking down the hall. That was not, that's funny. We were, do you know the hallway leading to the cafeteria? Well, Tom and Andrew were walking out. Me and Jessica were walking down, and they compliment us. Okay, and this is like my first inner reaction. I know I've seen them, but they compliment us in their 24 down respectful way. You guys are beautiful. No, no, whatever. You know, blah 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 blah. So that kind of started it. So I now knew who they were, and um, again, I believe this is room 117 where that window was, and there was a sidewalk. So because that happened, I kind of now knew who they were. There would be times where I would walk by the window, and Andrew and Francis and all them would pop their head out. And in Andrew's little voice, you guys know how he does it. Hey, you guys, or whatever. I can't do it. He'd be like, "What are you doing walking by my window?" So Andrew, can you do it? Hey, you guys, or just he does his little hand thing.
I don't have a little voice.
No, come on, you know what I'm talking about. Just say something like, "Hey, where are you going?" Or "You guys walking by my window," in your little voice that you do.
I don't really know what you're saying. I'd be like, yo, get over here. I don't know. I
Yes,
have no
that
idea.
voice, something like that, and the same voice that you and Matt Baldwin do. Joe
It's
and
the-
Lucifer, is it?
Yes,
That voice.
it's the Joe and Lucifer voice.
Oh,
Yes,
that voice.
that voice.
Oh, that's
Yes.
completely different. I'd be like, hi, ladies, what are you doing over there?
Yes. Okay, so I would walk under or by the window, and they would just come out shouting, "Hey, you guys, where you going?" Or like whatever. And that is, I believe, 2005 end of spring semester. And this is how I really got into 24 Down. But technically, Tom and Andrew, if they didn't come up to me that one day and give me a compliment, I don't know if that would have started any of it. You know what I mean? I don't know if I would even just be in this podcast. So in one of the podcasts, I think it was Francis's, I asked him why we stayed the 2 weeks extra. So after walking by like the windows and getting to know you guys better, um, I believe I was in Wells at this point. Now I had to stay maybe like a day or two after because I came with everything I owned. So I had to have someone come with a truck in my car. So I had to wait till the weekend to go home. Little did I know that I believe it was Andrew, Tom, and the English twins, and there may have been a few other people, but this is when I really got to know them. They were staying because I believe we talked about it. Tom couldn't leave yet because he had to wait something to go back home to Buffalo. I come out one day and they're all skateboarding, and I kind of know them at this point. And we get to talking, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm staying too." Now I wind up staying a little bit longer than I was going to because I mean, Andrew, if you remember, like this gets brought into like the car portion of 24 Down. Like it could have been anything. Like we were going to like Wawa or whatever. And if you were ever in one of 24 Down's cars, you ever remember the car commercials that where they're trying to sell you on the car and like you open the door and like the whole football team comes out of the car? If you can picture that, we would roll up to Wendy's 3 cars deep, and you would open the door and like 10 to 15 people would pile out of that car. We were sitting on each other's laps in the back seat, even just going to like Wendy's or whatever. And it was kind of like that whole situation of just there was no classes, we were just staying there, so we just bullshitted like the week or two that we were there. And I got so close to you guys that like I remember meeting Tom's parents the day that we were all leaving, and it was summertime, and I know that we all got each other's numbers, and it was like the longest summer ever. It was my first taste of you guys before it really like blew up, and I didn't even want to leave that week because I got so close to you guys that week. And I believe now we're going to 2006 spring semester, and I think Hat comes in 2006 with the Brazilian twins, correct?
To
What
my
year did you
recollection,
come, Hat?
I believe it was 2006, I believe.
Yeah,
Well,
so I don't know.
I came May of 2006.
Then no. Well, no.
What?
So my
No, maybe it
my
was the
timeline
beginning.
might be off, and I'm sorry, but after that summer, that is when I believe Hat came, the Brazilian twins came, and I remember even just coming back to Valley Forge, and it just grew and it grew, and I came back to like Rizzo, and I knew Rizzo, Tom is Rizzo, Andrew and Andrew and the twins more, but then it grew into just everything that everybody already knows, and years later. But that's kind of how 24 Down happened for me. is Andrew and Tom stopped me in the hallway and gave me a compliment, and it just grew from there into the craziness of what 24 Down is now.
Well, I think that's a awesome like backstory of learning how you got into the 24 Down family and why it means so much. So
Yeah.
I know we're wrapping up here. We're getting to the end. There was one other story you wanted to talk about. So feel free to touch on this really quickly. You wanted to talk about your 22nd birthday, and I think you probably wanted to talk
Yes.
about it because of how much
Yes.
it meant to you.
There's actually 2 stories that I kind of want to get into, but we'll do the 22nd birthday first. So it was my 22nd birthday, and my mom sent me a birthday in a box, and you guys might remember this. And there was pin the tail on the donkey. It was, and this goes to how 24 Down was. We broke some rules, whatever, but like even down to there was like 20 people deep, and we stuck the pin the tail on the donkey on the doors in the middle of 24 Down, and we're all playing pin the tail on the donkey, being silly, whatever. Um, and I think someone like spun me around and put me all the way to like Bongiorno Hall, and I had to walk back blindfolded to 24 Down to even put my tail on the donkey. But just like that, it was something crazy. My 22nd birthday. At that age, you think we're out doing all kinds of crazy stuff, but no, we are 20, probably like 19, 20, 21 years old, all playing pin the tail on the donkey. And there's another game, if you guys can remember, where, and I have pictures of it on my Facebook, so I might not be able to explain it correctly. And when you hear it, it might sound dirty, but it wasn't. Someone would stand up and someone would have to put their head in between the legs of somebody else, and it was kind of like a centipede. And then you would run and like jump on somebody's back.
Wasn't that a game that I believe, if I remember correctly, that was something that Samsung taught us?
It might have been. And
I'm pretty sure it was a game that he showed us. Yeah. And then you had to do like some rock, paper, scissors or something. The person in the front.
I forgot about
and,
that part.
Yeah.
Yes.
This will be a good thing when we do your follow-up video for this. We'll make sure that we have a bunch of pictures and stuff, and we'll show all
Yeah,
that.
I have some of them actually, and I looked on it today on my Facebook just to make sure I was describing the game correctly. And actually, you're the person standing up on against a telephone pole, and then someone's head's between your legs, and then someone's head's between their legs, and there's like 4 people deep, and you just see people running, jumping on their backs, sitting. So like to describe this game, it kind of sounds like weird or whatever, but we had a good ass time even doing that. Just things like my 22nd birthday, playing freaking pin the tail on the donkey at a Christian college, and we had a good ass time. There's plenty of pictures of that too. That's kind of all I wanted to say about that.
No,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
we'll definitely make sure that we'll get into like some of the relationship stuff. You know what I mean? The second time we have you on, no, I'm just playing.
Shut up, Buda. I knew that was gonna get brought up.
Not
Shut
saying
up.
anything else.
And now Buddha is booted.
Hey,
from
don't
the
you have
room.
to go, Buddha? Or
Well, no, this has been awesome. Like this has been a really a good episode, Colleen. Like I know how much 24 Down means to you. This is gonna be my send off, and then I'll let Buddha give a send off. I'll let Andrew give a send off, and then I will let you close it out. This is gonna be my send off to you. I know how much 24 Down means to you, but like don't ever forget how much you mean to 24 Down. You were always there for us. You always had our back in anything and everything we did, and in a way you were the 24 Down mom. Like I know maybe like
I know.
maybe your mom and like the English twins moms were like the real 24 Down moms, but they couldn't live on campus with us. So on campus,
Right.
like you were the 24 Down mom. Like you had our back, you took care of us. And so as much as you love 24 Down, 24 Down loves you. So I will pass this over to the other guys, and then when they're done, you can say your final words as well.
Well, yeah, I have to say, you're so far on this podcast, you're the most attractive person that we've had on so far. So
Hey,
I'm gonna
congratulations.
slap you too, Buddha.
But yeah, you know what I do regret I do regret not getting to know you and the other 24 down girls like everyone else did. And it was mostly because I had a girlfriend already. I wanted to marry her. So I was just trying to put up a wall between me and any other girls and whatnot. But I have to say, like I said before, you were strong then. You're even stronger now. And it was so awesome just hearing, where your life is going, but also, reminiscing on the memories in the past. And I didn't even remember that I just knocked you out, but
You did.
but yeah, this has been a really awesome time just connecting again.
Yeah, I thought it was very fitting. I got to co-host with you for the first time on this podcast. But it's been awesome to catch up, and just know again for all the times that we argued and all the fun things that we experienced. You always hold a special place in all of our hearts. You're, like I said, they both said you're the original 24 down girl. And we always appreciated that. We always knew that every game we played, everything we did, like you were there cheering for us, and so you always were a special person. You still are. So yeah, it's been fun.
Colleen, you wanna close out? And actually, before I let you close out, let me give these real quick plugs, and then I'm gonna let you close out. So, first thing I want to say that's not necessarily a normal plug is Colleen has come on the 24 Down podcast now. So the rest of the girls, I'm talking Carrie, I'm talking Aaron, I'm talking Raven, I'm talking Christy, I'm talking Katie, all of you guys. We need you on the podcast. So. What did you say, Buda? I don't know if I want to even hear.
Talking Allie. I'm calling you out, Allie.
So, girls, we want you on because you are just as much a part of this family as anybody else. With that, if you want to find us on Twitter, tweet us for whatever reason. Twitter handle is going to be at 24down podcast. You can email us 24downpodcast@gmail.com. You can check out our Store Frontier page where you can get these beautiful t-shirts as well as some other designs. It's storefrontier.com/24down. Look us up on our Facebook pages. We've got the 24 Down podcast Facebook page as well as just the 24 Down group. If you can't find them, let one of us know. We'll get you in. And then YouTube, like I said, we just started our YouTube channel. There's going to be more content coming on YouTube, other videos from back when we were in college. Andrew and Francis are going to come up with a spin-off show as well. So there's going to be just a ton of content. So you can follow us on YouTube if you'd like. And I believe that's all. I'm probably forgetting stuff. Oh, the poll. Don't forget to vote. Facebook poll to name the new show for Andrew and Francis. Colleen, I'm going to give you the final word. So take it away.
Okay, so there's so much more that I want to talk about, and we could go for hours. So I know you say that everyone will be back on, so I'm just going to save that for next time. As I leave, y'all know I love you so freaking much. Oh my gosh. And the fact that I know, Pat, you don't like to take credit for this, but like this couldn't even in my life happen at the most perfect time. Like I enjoy listening to everyone's podcast, and it starts back memories for me too. And like everyone says, like they wish they could comment because I'm like, no, that didn't happen then. This is actually what happened. But I love all of you with all my heart. And it was God sent. I mean, that we were all meant to be at Valley Forge. And I mean, with all the people in the world, it could have been anybody. And it was one of the most memorable and best times of my entire life. And I'll never forget it. And I'm so happy that you're doing this. But I'm going to do things a little bit different for my closing out. And because it's only right, Pastor Buda, would you pray us out, Buda? And yes, I would like prayer for my situation that we described in the beginning, but I don't want it all to be just about me. I want to pray for this podcast. I want to pray for everybody in 24 Down and just everything. I don't want it all focusing on me, but I do. And anyone listening, please pray for my situation with Las Vegas and all that. But Buda, would you close us out in prayer?
Absolutely. I would love to. Dear God, we thank you so much, Lord God, for this time that we have together. Lord God, thank you so much, firstly, for Colleen, Lord God. I pray, Lord God, just for her situation that she shared today and just the years that she's been through, Lord God, that it's been really hard for her, Lord God. I pray, Lord, that you'll show her that she's stronger than when she started, Lord God. And I pray, Father God, that she'll start living in that strength, Lord God. And I pray, Father, that she'll have that faith that you want her to have, Lord God, in trusting you as her Father and going to take care of everything. Lord God, I pray for her son, Lord God, and this whole situation that they're in with Las Vegas and everything. I pray, Father, that you just hold them in your hands, Lord God. I pray, Lord God, I also pray, Father God, for Andrew and for Josh. And I thank you so much that this is a thing. This podcast is an actual thing, and it's really bringing us together even more. It's connecting us together even more. And when we do get to meet all together, I think it's going to be the greatest thing. I pray for 24 Down from the years that even I started and Colleen started there all the way till, Josh's time and beyond. I pray that you'll be with our 24 Down brothers and sisters. And Lord God, we pray that we'll have a great night tonight, and we'll keep on doing this podcast, and it will glorify you as it brings us together. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I love you all.
Love you guys.